When your child is in trouble, what parent doesn't want to come to their rescue? But what if your child is an adult and a suspected drug dealer? A recent drug arrest is highlighting how some in our criminal justice system continue to offend over and over again.
29-year-old Jesse Turnmeyer of Bangor is no stranger to local law enforcement. He has had run-ins with police going back 10 years. Charges of theft, drug use, and drug dealing. Most recently, he was arrested on December 16th following a shooting at a South Side home in La Crosse. And then, after his bail was reduced from $10,000 down to $2,500, his bond was posted by the same man he would be arrested with just 4 hours later, charged with dealing drugs in a La Crosse hotel parking lot. Well, now Turnmeyer's father is speaking out about his son and the one person he reached out to in this uncommon bond. Paul Turnmeyer has been fixing other people's cars and trucks for more than 25 years. It's a skill he was hoping to share with his oldest son, Jesse.
Normal kid. He liked to play games, liked to, everything a normal kid would do. I mean, he really wasn't any different than anybody else.
But at 29 years old, Jesse Turnmeyer has been in trouble with the law for the past 10 years in the La Crosse area. His father's dreams for him seem very far away.
I really want to help him, but I get to the point where I don't know what to do.
His desperation led him to do something other parents might not even think of.
I didn't know what to expect, obviously. I was a little nervous.
Paul Turnmeyer decided to reach out to one person who was very critical of the lower bond that allowed Jesse to get out of jail after being charged in a shooting at a house on La Crosse's south side.
Normally when you hear from parents regarding their children who get in trouble, it's very defensive in nature, blaming other people for those things, and certainly this wasn't the case. But also knew that his son created his own problems.
Surprisingly, these two men who know Jesse in very different ways are finding a lot of common ground.
The thing that was surprising was 48 hours prior to his release, his bond was $10,000. So a judge made a determination 48 hours prior to that this was what the bond should be. Then 48 hours later, the lawyers and Jesse come forward and say, well, I can afford $2,500 and my family is going to be the ones to post that bond, and none of that was true.
I told him that I completely agree, that I don't understand how somebody that is a repeat offender like he is, how they could lower his bail like that and let him out.
His partner in crime is the one who comes in, posts the bond, nothing followed up there, and then lo and behold, they're out, allegedly selling drugs again.
Police department, hey, keep your hands up.
Turnmeyer was hoping his son would be stuck in jail long enough to seek help for his drug problem and possibly even find a job.
Jesse, you aware you're supposed to be on house arrest?
Yeah.
I just
told him that. Hey, you want to hold his
You got out of jail 4 hours ago. You're supposed to be in Bangor, not here.
I called him.
Not that I want to see my son sit in jail or anything like that, but
This is what happens if you don't follow bond.
yeah, obviously needs some type of help, and just by opening the doors and turning him loose again isn't helping him any.
La Crosse County's Justice Support Services does offer dozens of programs to inmates.
And the crux of everything is that person's motivation and where they're at and if they're ready to move forward with this treatment. So, spaces like Justice Support Services, the programming that we offer within our jail, we're lucky to live in a very resource-rich community. It's all available to our clients, and we're here to help, but we can't do the work for them.
Accountability also has to be in there somewhere, and where we look at the victims of the community equally or more so important than the criminals, and then sometimes it feels like the criminal is getting the bigger benefit of the doubt.
And even though they do seem to work in two totally different worlds, they know their role as fathers is their most important job.
Two dads who know that they want to do everything they can possible for their children, but yet I can just only imagine the level of frustration that he has because he does want to help out his son, and unfortunately, from what he says, his son doesn't want to change.
But if somebody in one of those programs could have sat him down and maybe asked, what do you need? How can we get you out of this before it gets to here? And maybe he didn't ever think it'd get to here. But I think in that life that he chose, there's no way that it's not going to end up here.
So as far as Jesse's future goes, he now faces a federal arms charge when it comes to the firearms and has now been moved to the Dane County Jail in Madison.
And obviously he's still facing these charges here in La Crosse, so what happens with those charges?
Okay, so it turns out, according to the district attorney here, they're saying if he does get substantial time in federal prison for those firearms charges here, then they'll drop them here. However, all the other existing drug charges here will still be pursued.
Okay, thanks, Martha.